Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to the review of another budget dive watch that looks a lot like a meld of 3 or 4 different vintage luxury retro styled timepieces. In fact, if a Rolex MilSub and a Tudor Black Bay were on a long haul flight together, had one too many champagnes and ended up in the toilet, the result may look a lot like this Protos. Now, Protos is the brainchild of another expat Scot called Nick. Scotland is a beautiful country, a magical country. The scenery is quite spectacular. For 5 days each year, it looks like this. Unfortunately, for the other 360 days each year, it looks like this, which is why so many of us end up spread around the globe. Nick found himself in China. What better place to start a budget watch brand? And this Protos is his first piece. And not a bad first attempt at all. A couple of minor niggles. If he was to tweak those, I reckon he'd have a real hit on his hands with this one. Let's flip the camera and get into it. So before I get into this Protos's luxury dive watch retro fusion looks, check out its case. I haven't seen too many of these, I must admit. The kind of dive case has even got a pressure release valve there. Perhaps a bit more of a gimmick than anything useful, but an entertaining gimmick nonetheless. And you can rest assured the watch is not going to arrive to you damaged when it comes in this much packaging, that's for sure. And when I get it out of the considerable packaging, perhaps you start to get an idea where I was going with the fusion looks in the intro. We've definitely got quite a lot of Rolex MilSub here. We've also got a lot of Black Bay heritage in terms of the little triangle pit. The bezel is very similar, but we've got an overall case shape that references the 5-digit Rolex Submariner. Those dimensions being 40 millimeters in diameter. We've got a thickness today of just under 16 millimeters thick, 20 mil lug width, tapering down to 16 at the clasp, giving an 18 mil clasp, and sized up for my 7-inch wrist, this one weighing in at 151 grams, so pretty much in that Submariner style sweet spot, somewhere between 140 and 160 grams. Now, construction today is all stainless steel as you would imagine. We've got a stainless steel case, bezel, crown there, it's an oversized 8mm crown, and the bracelet is all stainless steel as well. Now, zoomed in on the dial there, we've got a lovely piece of domed sapphire crystal, and you can hopefully see quite a lot of depth on that dial. A really nice set of golden Mercedes hands, big lollipop on the second hand there as well. You can hopefully also see some kind of quite prominent applied indices there, the big circular markers, the triangle up there at 12 o'clock. Now, they're quite deep and also deep filled with superluminova. I'll pop a lume shot up later on, and quite a deep kind of Rehaut dial chapter ring there as well. Ceramic bezel today, 120 click, unidirectional as you would expect for a dive watch, and it's pretty solid, no back play there today, which is always nice. The case is kind of somewhere between a Submariner and a Black Bay actually. We've got brushed lugs and we've got a polish on the side. Not quite slab-sided like the Black Bay, but not quite in the same shape as a Submariner either. And as you can see there with that jumbo crown, 8mm crown with the Protos logo engraved in it. Coin edge bezel there, and it's a ceramic bezel insert today as well. Now, the bracelet is pretty decent, solid end links, solid links, just push pins, but I had no problem sizing it. The brushing here isn't amazing though, not the best I've seen at this price point, but certainly not an embarrassment, and I do like the fact that it tapers down to 16, really capping off that vintage style. We've got the Protos logo just printed on the buckle there, safety clasp. However, it's a pressed clasp today. I think you can be fairly sure that this clasp will reappear in the moans and niggles section later on. We do have a little bit of micro adjust there, which is always nice to see on a bracelet, ensuring a comfortable fit. And pop a link to show you the case back, and Protos have kept up that vintage Rolex style theme by going for a vintage Rolex and Tudor style case back there. Perhaps they could have done something a little different. Perhaps they could have added a touch of branding there, maybe even the Protos logo in the middle. Solid end links as mentioned. And the movement in this one is, I hope you're sitting down, it's an NH35! Surprise, surprise. There is a reason though that these are the movement of choice for micro brands all around the world. Pop up a movement accuracy report, that's over a fortnight, mostly in the winder, but a bit of wrist time as well, and coming in very consistently.
towards the kind of medium of the range of the stated tolerance of these, -20 to +40. So this one coming in just around +13, but very consistent with it. 21,600 vibrations per hour, hacks and hand winds, but no date on this one. Protos have again continued that vintage theme by opting for no date. Lacking in convenience, but I think very much in keeping with the overall design aesthetic of the watch. NH35 pretty much par for the course in a watch at this price point. Now pop up a lume shot, and the lume is pretty decent. Superluminova as mentioned, slightly different tone on the hands though from the indices, and as you can see there they've gone for a blue lume pip on the bezel. Not quite sure what the logic with that one was. Perhaps they just wanted to add a little quirk all of their own. Reminds me of the Golden Sands lume on my Genoa Ocean Rover. Indeed, here's a shot of the two watches side by side, both giving off a very similar shade of green. And there is the watch sitting on top of my 7-inch wrist. Looks pretty good. I do enjoy the taper of the bracelet and those deep filled indices, the big chunky chapter ring, really adding some depth to the dial. Nice to have that ceramic bezel. Looks pretty good on wrist, 40mm, great set of dimensions for the vast majority of people, so you're not going to offend too many people by producing your one and only watch in this size. Moans and niggles then, well, you saw this one coming a mile off. I flagged it earlier on. $299 for a press clasp. You know, I've shown on numerous occasions on the channel, there are many brands out there who can put a proper decent mill clasp on there. For $299, I suppose there's an argument that the old watches of the 50s and 60s, where this one takes its styling cues, also had press clasps, but that doesn't wash today, I'm afraid. So if there is a Mark II of this watch, I would dearly like it to be supplied with a decent mill clasp rather than this cheapo. The lume pip is a funny one in blue. Not quite sure why they did that, and I'm not quite sure that it works. I would have much preferred it if it was the same colour as the rest of the lume, and I can't quite get it to line up at the 12 o'clock, which is a little bit irritating. And at 16mm, it's a little bit thick. Here is the Protos in the middle with my Ocean Rover on the left and my Phoebus PY006, my other two Submariner styled watches on either side of it. Both of these come in almost exactly 14mm, so it's not so noticeable on the wrist, but there is a little bit of protrusion at the case back. It would have been much nicer, it'd probably been a nicer wearing watch if it was just a little bit slimmer. So what do I think of the Protos overall then? Well, I think visually it's a very successful meld of 3 or 4 different retro or genuine vintage luxury watches. Not bad looks considering it's only $299 US. Do love those golden indices, the golden hands, that minute track. Black glossy dial really does look more luxurious on the wrist than the price tag suggests. But a couple of niggles. If there is a Mark II of this watch, I would love a milled clasp. I would love it to be a little bit slimmer, and I would love that lume pip to be the same colour as the rest of the dial. Not too much to ask, is it?
So there you have it, the $299 Protos, a damn sight cheaper than a Black Bay or a MilSub, that's for sure. Looks great, looks fantastic on wrist, a lot more expensive than it is, and those big, deep-filled indices give off a lot of lume at night. I had a couple of niggles with it, don't I always? Easily rectified though for the Protos Mark II. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.